Hey everybody, this is Brady, Backyard Fun Pools. We're in the Frankfort area at the Frankfort store, and I just wanted to take time to show you a couple pointers and go over an Aqua Rite salt system, also known as chlorine generator, and see if we can help you get some technical help, or if you have any questions, go over the system, that kind of thing. We have a display set up right inside the store, so we're going to go in and get started. Now that we're inside, I'd just like to take a moment to go over some stuff that you should probably know about salt systems as well as your cell itself. The first thing I recommend with any person that has a salt pool is definitely a multimeter. They are very important. You can also go to the pool store and get it checked out, but the last thing you want to do is have water that's like an ocean, because it's said that your salt was off and you just kept adding salt instead of knowing what it actually was, and it's a problem in the system. So you need to have a multimeter, and there's several different types. Also, a water bottle for you to test. And this here is your salt cell. This is the cell that's going to go with this Hayward system. A little bit about it. You have platelets inside here that you want to check and make sure that they stay clean of debris, and also that the calcification, which is a byproduct of the electrolysis happening, doesn't get too caked up with the calcification inside. You want to be able to clean that with some acid. Also, the way Hayward systems work, they're basically split the cell in half. Half of the ruthenium plates that are in here that let the electrolysis happen are on a 3-hour time. So basically this half works for 3 hours. It reverses polarity and starts producing your chlorine from this half of the cell. With the Hayward salt systems, they're really great. I really like them. One important thing that you will need to know is that even though you say you have a salt pool, that you don't use chlorine, you still use chlorine. Basically what happens is salt, NaCl, the form of it, the element, passes through this cell. And as it passes through the cell, the cord that I've cut off here for service reasons and for testing goes back to the box that we're getting ready to go over. As you turn up your output is the output of chlorine that is being made. So as the salt passes through, these ruthenium platelets split the Na from the Cl, and Cl is your chlorine, and go back in your pool and keep your pool nice and clean and sanitized. That's basically how the system works. So depending on how high you have your output, of course, more chlorine that gets into it. We'll go into more with that here in a minute. All right, everybody, this is your inside of your control box. And what we have here, just to go over some stuff, this right here is your switch to select off auto superchlorinate. You have a diagnostics button. You have an LCD screen. You have your LED light indicators and your output dial. On your switch in off mode, the box itself still has power, as you can see from the power light. If that power light goes off, you really want to check and see what else is going on, because there's another issue going on. That light should always be on when there's power to the system. Let's turn the switch on. You'll see a generating light come on. That means that you are generating chlorine. Next switch is your superchlorinate. As you can see the light coming on there. What that does is that's 100% output for 24-hour period. You want to make sure that you come back out and switch that off, because if you don't, it'll just stay up in that up position. It's really not going to hurt anything, because the internals of the box will automatically shut the production down after a 24-hour period, so that you don't over chlorinate your pool. All right. Your output dial will go from 1 to 100, depending on how much chlorine you want. To be able to get that kind of in a range, you want to start out by taking your water, because you'll start out at a lot lower rate in the springtime, and in the summertime you'll actually have that dial turned up quite a bit more, just because of the bather load and the sun shining, burning up some of the chlorine, that kind of stuff. I'm going to now go through the diagnostic screen. Press the diagnostic button one time. That is your temperature. Right now it says it's 86 degrees. To change this, or if you notice that it's in a weird number, by going auto to superchlorinate, you actually take it into a metric screen. So if you're in metrics, it's saying that it's 30 degrees Celsius. To get back through that, we'll go back to the main screen, and you'll see you're at 3.20. You might come out and be like, what in the world is these crazy numbers? What's happening? All it is that you've accidentally put it into the Celsius mode or the metric mode. So to change that, or anything in the system really, on the screen that you're on, you want to go from auto to superchlorinate back to auto, and that changes any of the user selections. So we'll press it one time to get back to the temperature, go superchlorinate back to auto, and there you are at 86 degrees. The next push of the button is your cell voltage, and you want to be between 22 and 32. Press it again. That is your amps on your cell. Every cell will have a different reading. There are 4 different cells. You have a T cell 3, a T cell 5, a T cell 9, and a T cell 15. So each one of those is going to be different depending on your salt cell that you have. Press it again, and there is a 51P. To help you out, what that is your actual percentage here on your dial. If you want to really get it dialed in, let's say it looks like you're on 30 right there, but really you're on 32%. So if you want to actually get it dialed in pretty close, you can go to that screen there. Next push of the button is your instant salt. That is the salt reading at your cell right then. What that lets you know is exactly what it is. You can kind of troubleshoot through some problems there. The front screen basically is the salt reading that's been averaged out. There's a bunch of different readings that the cell takes, and it puts that rounded number there on the main screen. This is just board stuff, revision numbers. This button here, when you get to this screen here, it is what T cell you have. So let's say you have a T cell 9 and you change your cell out and you're wondering why it's not working properly. To change that cell, you just go to this screen, and again, superchlorinate to auto changes it. So now you're at T cell 9, you're good to go. We're going to go back to a T cell 15, and you're back to the main screen again. These LED lights down here are actually troubleshooting lights. Seeing no flow, check salt, high salt, inspect cell. We'll start at the top with no flow. When you have no flow, that light will be completely solid. When you turn on your pump, let's say, and that light starts flashing, it recognizes that you have flow, and it is basically on a delayed timer so that a lot of water starts moving through the cell. You're not going to have any problems. You'll see that light flashing. Once that it kicks in, you'll see this generating light here pop on because it's generating. Next is check salt. On check salt, you can either have 2 things. You can have a flashing light, or you can have a continuous light. If you have a flashing light, then the salt is below 2600, which you want to be around 3200. Really, it's 2700 to 3500 is kind of the range you're going after. But let's say that it is solid. If it's solid, that means that the salt is below 2300 parts per million, and the chlorine has been halted. It's not going to produce anything because the cell knows that it's way too low. Next, we have high salt. On high salt, you won't have a flashing light, but you will have a solid light. When you have a solid light, that means the cell current is too high. The chlorine production on that will also be halted, so you will not be creating any chlorine, and you want to try to get that checked out, because the last thing you want to do is have your pool going green because there's no chlorine going into your pool. And the last light here is inspect cell. The inspect cell light will flash. When you see that flashing, it is basically just a reminder to you to basically visually inspect your cell, make sure that everything's good. After 500 hours, that'll start flashing, and we'll go over how to fix that. So as you see, the inspect cell is flashing. The inspect cell light is flashing because you have reached 500 hours on the cell operation. It is basically a maintenance so that you can see, hey, I forgot about the cell. You want to turn off your pump, take off the cell, and visually inspect it. If it is dirty or has any calcification inside it, you want to do a 1 to 4 acid wash to clean your cell, put it back on, and the way to get rid of the inspect cell is to press and hold the diagnostics button for 3 to 5 seconds and the light will go off. And it then starts a 500-hour countdown again. So if you see that flashing, that is the quick fix. So I hope this video helped. Just to recap, what we basically did was learn about the salt system, salt pools, stuff like that, your parts per million. You want to make sure that you stay between 2,700 and 3,400 parts per million. You don't want to get a lot of, if you get above that, you can get a lot of problems with your pool, and it's very, very corrosive. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure we use some descaling agents and stay on top of your water chemistry. As a byproduct, the salt naturally keeps your pH a little bit higher, so make sure you visit your local pool store and keep your chemicals in check. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below and maybe we can help. Remember that even though you do have a salt pool, you still have chlorine, and that you just get out there and enjoy your awesome salt water. Have a great day. Thanks. Please click, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Enjoy it. See you to the next video.